All right, this is my friend Ken. Ken's way into bees. He's got this device. Explain this device for me, would you, Ken?
This is an infrared camera.
Okay.
And so with the infrared camera, you can take a heat signature of just about anything. And so it's 8 o'clock in the morning, and so we're going to look at some bees in a tree branch, and hopefully we'll get enough of the ambient heat coming through the wood through this. Sometimes, well, I can show you later too. You can touch something and leave your heat signature on the wood, take your hand away, and it'll still show the residual heat.
Wow.
So this is a tool that firemen use, going into fires looking for colder objects in a hot thing.
Okay.
Like someone that didn't make it.
Okay.
But yeah, this is a funny kind of fluor.
Well, hopefully we won't find a dead person in the tree.
Not. Only dead bees. Okay, thanks.
All right, so what we're going to do here is there's this tree over here that has a hive in it, and presumably this infrared camera will I have not seen this work yet.
Okay.
This infrared camera will show the heat of the bees, correct?
Yeah, and it can give us, if we'd like to remove the bees live, we can see where, if the branch is hollow inside, we can see where the colony is, and then we can mark the upper limit and the lower limit, and mark that so anybody removing the bees can cut above that.
Okay.
And then we can also, when the tree crew comes to do the work, we can tape some window screen or staple some window screen over the opening the bees have, so they're kind of trapped in there. So the tree crew,
that's a way to save the hive. Then.
Yeah, save the hive, but also the workers that come do it don't have a bunch of bees flying around. They can be safe.
All right, well, let's go check this thing out. I want to see this thing work.
You're gonna turn it on.
Here's a man who has virtually no fear of bees. Probably gets stung daily.
So this calibrating takes a while.
Okay. So with your experience with hives in trees, Ken, do you think this is a fairly new hive, or do you think it's been in existence for a while?
Looks there's enough black going in and out. When they're foraging, they get oils and waxes from trees and things on their bodies. And so when they come and go and they crawl in an opening, their body rubs against the tree or the bark. So the darker, the more black it is, the more time bees have come and gone.
Okay.
But there's no knowing, because an older colony could have lived here a long time and they could have died. There's a lot of diseases killing bees. That colony could have died. And these guys, just a new colony this spring, could have said, we smell a bee, and they go in and they use that old colony site.
Okay.
So sometimes it's a new one, sometimes it's an old one, hard to know. Okay, but I get a real hot red spot where that is. I think I need to go on the back side. All I'm gonna see.
How far through the wood will this thing read?
I'm not seeing. Yeah, I want to see cold, and I'm not seeing that. I got to go to the other side, I think. See the white spots? I don't know. That's just the sun warming up that. I think the sun has gotten through the leaves,
I get too much reflection on here.
Yeah. So what I've not done is calibrate. You can see the temperature drop. Okay. Let me go to the heat of that.
So the white is the active hot
Yeah,
spot.
and look at the bees coming and going. You see these little zooming in So let me show you something else. I'm here on this spot.
Okay.
I take my hand away.
Oh, it left a signature on
Yeah,
there.
yeah. So, but that's on the surface. So your question going back to how thick is that wood,
Yes.
and how much heat. On a hive box are like 3/4 of an inch wood, pine usually.
Okay.
And so you can see a hive inside a 3/4 inch easy. If this wood is 3 inches thick, I'm not sure I can get a good signature. So my snazzy device isn't helping us. Let me see if I can get this branch out of the way. I get the bees all pissed off of it.
Yeah, don't snap that back, please.
Yep. Yeah, really. Let's see, I was hoping to really see a nice. I've got to go back and see if I can calibrate it differently. It might be.
Ken, how long does a bee live?
Okay, 4 to 6 weeks.
That's it?
That's it. Well, that's outside the hive. When they first hatch, they spend the first 2 weeks in the hive doing housework, and they have to learn while their glands mature. And their hypopharyngeal gland, mandibular gland for feeding babies. Then eventually their venom gland ripens. When the venom gland ripens, now they can defend themselves outside the hive. These are just females. Males don't have any of this stuff. So outside the hive, 4 to 6 weeks. But in October, some very special bees happen. Because when they get born, they live in the hive, same 2 weeks, and their glands expand for feeding, and those glands shrink, and the venom gland ripens. It gets big, but their mandibular and other glands, they shrink and they go out to do their work. October bees can be called winter bees because after doing their outside work in 4 to 6 weeks when they should die, they come back. The venom gland shrinks, and their mandibular gland and the hypopharyngeal gland enlarges again, and they will live through the winter. They're 6 months. They're called winter bees. And
So those bees can live longer.
They can, but we don't know how and why they choose those bees. They're regular female bees, but so.
What about the queen? How long does the queen live?
She used to live up to 5 years, but a lot of our queen, a lot of diseases now up to 7.
Up to 5 years. Wow.
Yeah, up to 7 or more viruses.
So when you have a hive that's in a box, do you have to replace the queen every maximum of 5 years?
That depends
or do they
on
replace
your bee
themselves?
philosophy. I like to let them live as long as possible. But given their nutrition, given a lot of factors, diseases, if the queen gets weak and she's not laying very well, the hive will replace her. They want a functioning, high-performing queen, and that's getting harder and harder. So a lot of queens...
they kick her out and...
Yeah, my queens are living sometimes 2 years, and you mark your queen so you know that...
How do you mark a queen?
You capture her and you put little paint on her thorax, and then you can see her. And so when you open up your hive later and there's a queen walking around with no mark, you go, uh-oh, they replaced her. So that's a common practice for beekeepers to keep track of that kind of stuff.
I learn something new every day. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And
let's see
let's
if you can.
Let's not piss them off.
No, let's see, but I like to count them and see how many are coming in carrying pollen. So I'll set like a minute. How many are coming in per minute? And this is a pretty active little hive. But I don't see pollen coming in, so they're just trying to bring in some nectar right now. And I'm seeing orange. There's some pollen right there. Yeah. So I'm seeing yellow and orange pollen coming in. It's great when you start being purple pollen and white pollen. It's fun to see. Then try to figure out what flower that came from. But yeah, not a lot of pollen. Pollen tells you that's a protein.
Oh, I see some.
Okay. Yeah. The nectars are carbohydrate, and the protein is our pollen. The more pollen, the more they're making food that the queen can use to make babies. So in the springtime, you'll see tons of pollen coming in, and that's they need more workforce, more babies.
Wow. So much to know about a hive.
What's amazing is that nobody's in charge of the hive. The environment is driving everything. So when they find food, they start bringing more food in. The hive itself, nobody in charge, the hive itself says, hey, we need more workforce, more babies to capture this additional food sources coming in. So the size of the hive, it shrinks and swells with the environment that they're living in. If there's more food, more babies. But there's also a 21-day gap from when the queen lays an egg to when that worker bee, get hatches, then 2 weeks in the hive. So there's a delay in this whole thing. So who's in charge? Who's deciding what? We don't know.
All right, one last question, I'll let you go.
Yeah.
How often do you get stung?
Too often.
Hey, thanks, Dave.